In the last video, we made this cabinet. Now it needs a countertop. Let's figure out one way to make it. I got this box of walnut from a local mill. All the pieces are about 2 inches high, vary in width from 3/4 of an inch to 3 inches, and are between 20 and 25 inches long. These boards are S4S, which means surfaced on 4 sides. If you buy boards like this, there's no need to have a jointer or a planer. I lay out the boards and pick out the ones I like the looks of the best, while making sure that when glued up, my panel will be big enough for an overhang and for a mistake or two. The cabinet this is getting installed on is 18 by 24 inches, and I'm planning on having an inch overhang on the front and one side. I want the finished height of this countertop to be 1.5 inches, and right now these boards are 2 inches high, and they all have a bit of variation, which if left like this will give me much more work to do later when I'm trying to get a flat surface on the glued up panel. To get these to 1.5 inches, I'm using my table saw. I set the fence to just over 1.5 inches and run all my boards through. I only make one pass on each board to lock in the height, and leave the board's widths wherever they are currently. When making cuts like this, I use a push stick so that my hands don't get too close to the blade. It was getting pretty dusty in my shop, so I put on my respirator and finished up these cuts. Once cut to height, I lay out my boards again and mark them for length. I'm not trying to get them perfect here, just a little bit more uniform to make my glue up easier. These cuts could be made on the miter saw, but I already have my table saw out, so I'll be using it with my crosscut sled. I line the marks I made up with the groove left from my table saw's blade and make my cuts. I lay out my boards one more time and move them around so that the boards with similar coloring are near each other. Walnut has a lot of color variation, so this is definitely something to think about when making a panel. Once I'm happy with the layout, I set my boards onto my clamps and turn all but one of the boards 90 degrees so that I can add glue. I'm using these Surefoot clamps from Rockler. They work really well for a project like this. The important part about these clamps isn't the brand, but that they have a wide, flat base that your boards can set on so you know that they are flat and coplanar. But that being said, these Rockler brand ones are very nice and I would definitely recommend them. If you'd like clamps like these, there's an affiliate link to them in the video's description. I tried using a paint roller to spread the glue here, but it was absorbing so much of the glue that it wasn't leaving much on the boards, so I ended up using my finger to spread most of it. I probably went a little heavier on the glue than I needed to here, but I don't think there's a real downside to this besides a little more cleanup to do later. Adding an additional clamp to the top will help keep the boards from bowing. After adding my top clamp, I alternated between tightening all 3 clamps until I could see that I was getting good squeeze out between my joints. The next day, after my glue had time to dry, I removed the clamps and started to clean up the panel and get it nice and flat. I bought this cheap little plane and used it to remove some of the high points in my panel where the individual boards either had bows in them or had raised slightly during glue up. If I had milling machines to get my boards perfectly flat, or by adding biscuits, dominoes, or dowels to align my boards better, I probably would have been able to avoid this step. But even without doing any of this, the highest spots I had were about 1/16 of an inch, which was pretty easy to deal with. I've only used a plane once before this project, and as you can see, I don't really know what I'm doing here. At first, I had the blade set too high and it wasn't removing any material. Then I lowered it, but I went too low, which caused me to get tear out in a couple spots. But I kept playing around and tried to get a feel for it. Although I wouldn't say I ever really got the hang of it, I did eventually get the results I was looking for. After the top was as flat as I was going to get it, I flipped the panel over and got to work on the bottom. This side had a lot of glue drips that I cleaned up with a chisel. Once the glue was cleaned up, I repeated the same process to the bottom of my panel as I did to the top using the plane. Now there's a lot more to do on this panel before it's ready to be finished sanded, but before I make any more cuts, I wanted to be working with as flat of a panel as possible, and those chip out marks were really bugging me. So I grabbed my orbital sander and some 80 grit sandpaper and went over both sides to even everything out. Now that I was happy with the flatness of my panel, I needed to cut it into a rectangle that was 19 by 25 inches. The front and back of my panel are square, but neither of my sides are. To solve this problem, I grab my square and mark a line on the end of the board that I know is square. Then extend this line to the opposite end of my panel. This will be my cut line. Then, using the line I just made, make another line 4 inches away. I attach my straight edge to this line. Using my circular saw with its plate resting against the straight edge, I make my cut. Now that I have a square edge, I can set the fence of my table saw to my desired width of 19 1/4 inches and cut the excess off my panel. I flipped the board 180 degrees and cut an additional 1/4 inch off the end. I do this because the cut the table saw gives me will be much better than the one I got with the circular saw. With my panel cut to width, I can now cut it to length. This cut is too long for my table saw's fence, but luckily it will fit on my crosscut sled. If you don't have a crosscut sled or it's too small, you can make this cut with a circular saw like we did before. I take the countertop to the cabinet it will be installed on to see how it fits. Everything looks good. I have an inch overhang in both directions just like I want, and it sets flat on the cabinet and tight to the wall. At this point you could move on to finishing, but the countertop is looking a little more boxy than I'd like it to. So I decided to cut a chamfered edge onto both my exposed sides. I'm using this jig I made that I can clamp my workpiece to and run it through the table saw vertically. I wasn't sure just what I was looking for here, but I had to start somewhere. So I set my table saw's blade to 60 degrees and made a cut on one side. It looked good, but wasn't what I was looking for, so I reset the angle of my blade to 45 degrees and recut the panel. I was happier with this look, so I flipped the panel and cut my other edge. These cuts came out fine, but I should have used a feather board. It would have reduced the wobble I was getting, which would have caused less burning on my edges. But that's okay, I cleaned up that burning with some 80 grit sandpaper by hand. Next, I grabbed some more sandpaper and worked my way up through the grits with my orbital sander. First with 80, then 100, 120, 150, and finally with 180. And touched up the sides by hand to smooth them out and break the sharp edges. I had originally planned to put an 1/8 inch round over on this top edge, but I was so happy with how it was looking that I went right to finishing. I cleaned off the dust with a tack cloth and started to apply my finish. I'm using Maker brand Simple Finish for this project. It's not advertised as food safe, so make sure you think about that when choosing a finish. But this countertop is going in a mudroom, so I'm not worried about that. I've been excited to try this finish on a project for quite a while now, and it did not disappoint. I rubbed a thick coat on with a clean rag, and could immediately see the rich color in the walnut come out. I waited 15 minutes and added another light coat, then, after another 15 minutes, wiped off the excess and let it dry. The next day, I was ready to get this countertop installed. Now this is a pretty small countertop, so this step might be unnecessary, but I want to do something to account for wood movement. My first step is to drill holes through my cabinet that are slightly bigger than the screws I'll be using to attach my countertop to. Next, I add some silicone caulking. This won't add much holding strength, but it should keep the countertop from shifting around too much, and it's flexible so it won't work against the wood's natural movement. After setting the countertop in place, I screw through the holes I drilled up into my countertop, and I added washers between my screws and the cabinet. At this point, I should be adding my backsplash, and call me crazy, but I was so happy with the way this was looking that I've decided not to add any backsplash at all. Backsplashes add a few things to a countertop. Most importantly, it keeps water from getting in between your cabinet and the wall. But we have no water in this area. But let me know your thoughts in the comments. Is this a clean look, or does it just look unfinished? And while you're at it, if you enjoyed the video and haven't already, consider subscribing. We have one video left in this series, in which we finish making this closet into a mudroom. Stay tuned for that, and as always, thanks so much for watching.